And there they go.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Somich for RacingDudes.com, and I'm excited today to be joined by Mike Mackin, owner of Lucky 7 Stable. Mike, thank you very much for joining me, man. I'm pumped up for this. It's going to be fun.
Well, thanks for having me.
So I always want to kind of kick this off with the same question. Tell me your origin story around racing. How did you get into the game? When did you start? And when did you fall in love with it?
Well, I've been going to Churchill for as long as I can remember. But as far as Lucky 7, my father and he had another business partner, and they bought 3 horses in 1991. And then his business partner retired in 94. And that's really when Lucky 7 started. But, we started buying horses and getting in the game in 91.
Very cool. So you've been in it for almost 30 years now. You've had a lot of highs and lows over that time. This has got to be one of the more fun seasons for you. Are there any big time highs that you remember over the last 30 years that really got you hooked on the ownership side?
Well, one of the first horses he bought 3 horses in 91. One was not very good. Another one was okay. And another one turned out to be very good. A filly by the name of Country Chase. She won a few stakes races and ended up winning 150, 60,000. Back then, that was, back then, a $25,000 stakes race was at Turfway or Ellis. And she was quick. She couldn't go any further than 6 furlongs, but that's kind of what got us started.
Very cool.
And we've had some good horses off and on throughout the years. I guess the other one that we were briefly on the Derby Trail back in 2001, a horse by the name of Crafty Shaw that Pete Thustle trained, and he started out as a 2-year-old, doing okay. Then he went down to Oak Lawn and got 3rd in the Southwest. Then he won the Rebel, and so briefly in between the time of the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby, 4 weeks or so, we were in the game, and then he ended up getting hurt in the Arkansas Derby and was off for a year.
All right, so it's the highs and lows of horse racing ownership. It's awfully tough because you have those peaks and then there's those valleys that hit as well. This year's obviously been amazing for you. You've got 2 horses that are in the game right now with both Smile Happy and Rattle and Roll. They're going to both be in the Bluegrass this Saturday. Before we get into that, you bought both these horses at auction. Did something jump out at you with either of them? Was there something that just really said, hey, I got to have this horse?
Well, we've been buying horses at the auction for 30 years. And a couple years ago, my brothers and I, we decided to change things up a bit. We'd always gone and bought from proven stallions, and we wanted to test the waters a little bit. And Kenny actually trained a filly of ours who was very good, stakes winner, won the Gardenia back in 2001, a filly by the name of Minister's Baby. And he trained her. I think she won a couple stakes out at Iowa also. But then he kind of got out of the game a little bit. We had some luck with Kenny. Then he kind of got out of the game a little bit, and we went elsewhere and stayed in the game. And then a couple years ago, we decided to get back in business with Kenny and go to the sale with him. He's had a tremendous amount of success at the sales. But what that did is brought up an aspect that we've never done before, and that's buying the freshman sires or unproven sires. Mm-hmm. Connect was unproven, Rattle and Roll sire. The Run Happy sire, Smile Happy. Smile Happy's out of the second crop. So he wasn't a freshman sire. Another filly we bought that year is a filly by the name of Behave Virginia, who won the debutante last June at Churchill. Unfortunately, she got hurt and she's done racing. But she was by Unified, another unproven sire.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got another horse running on Saturday in an allowance race that we bought that year, Lucky Boss, who was second in the stakes race as a 2-year-old down at Ellis last August, I guess it was. And then he got a little off balance, and he's going to make his return to racing this Saturday in the 4th race at Keeneland. But now he was by Street Boss, a little bit more proven sire.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the sires. Obviously, Smile Happy, Run Happy is one of those that's been, we've seen it all over the place. Magic Mac put a bunch of money into Run Happy, making sure that he's got a lot of promotion. The first crop wasn't as great as you'd expect. The second one's been absolutely phenomenal. And really the Run Happys have started to run better and better. When you purchased it, I mean, Run Happy was a sprinter, won the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Was 2 turns something you thought for Smile Happy? Were you hoping this was a Derby horse, or did you kind of expect that we're going to be a little distance limited because of the sire?
No, I wasn't that afraid of the sire side. The dam side is all 2 turns and dirt and solid. Kay and I did talk about that when we bought them, but we felt comfortable enough that the dam side was strong enough as far as 2 turns, and he was a big, strong, healthy yearling.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he looked like a 2-turn horse. So did Rattle and Roll. And now, Connect, he's still a young sire, but everything up there with Connect is 2 turns. So
heading into this weekend, we're back in Kentucky. Both Rattle and Roll, Smile Happy have had success in Kentucky. Are you excited to get back to Kentucky and see both of these horses? How have they been doing coming up to this bluegrass?
They've been doing good. Smile Happy's been very good, and so is Rattle and Roll. Rattle and Roll, I mean, they're different horses. Rattle and Roll, he is. Kenny calls him a 12 horse, because he just keeps knocking off 12 seconds, 12 seconds, 12 seconds. And he just has needed a couple of races. We're hoping that he'll be able to get a little better start on on Saturday. Because really, if you take a look at the Louisiana Derby, at the first quarter split, he was 7 lengths back.
Mm-hmm.
He lost by 8. And he was 4 or 5 out of second, whatever it was. I don't remember exactly now. So, I mean, he was slowly gaining on everybody but Epicenter. Epicenter obviously loves that track down there. And it's a very, very good horse, and it's doing very, very well. So, but he just doesn't have that quick turn of foot to get out of the gate or to come home in 23. He's going to come home in 24.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take a look at his races back when he won the Futurity, I guess at that stage of the game, he was a little bit more grown up than some of the others. He was able to finish in 24, and nobody else was.
So are you excited about Rattle and Roll stretching out then, even to the 1.25 miles to Kentucky? I mean, we saw both in Arkansas and Florida, they were struggling to get home in 24. I think the last furlong in both those races last weekend were 13+ second furlongs. Do you think that Rattle and Roll can keep those 12 seconds going even past the 1.1 miles distance?
No doubt. No doubt. He's got one speed.
Yep.
And once he gets up and going, he's a little slower in the beginning, although we are adding blinkers to him for Saturday. Hopefully that will keep him a little bit more focused in that first quarter.
And then you got Smile Happy, obviously, right to the outside. The 9-5 morning line favorite here in the Bluegrass. How was the Bluegrass always the plan for Smile Happy? Obviously, he ran his first race down at Fairgrounds, and now we're coming back here to Kentucky. Was this the plan going into this year, to have him run essentially 2 preps going into the Derby and to have Keeneland be the final prep?
We knew one of them was going to be running the bluegrass. Didn't know until yesterday morning. Kenny called me and said, "What do you think about putting Rattle and Roll in there also?" He's galloping great. He's doing great. We were thinking about waiting until the 16th and run him in the Lexington. But he said he'll like the mile and 8th a lot better than the mile and 16th. So Kenny also thinks that Rattle and Roll is going to like an off track, and which it probably potentially is going to be an off track on Saturday. So that's why we put that's why we got both of them in there. So Kenny, we nominated all of them out of Florida, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and of course the bluegrass, and just kind of see how they were doing and wait and see, which race looked better for them at the time.
Excellent. Yeah, I know that Smile Happy had been rumored to be in about 5 different places, or the plan was to be 5 different places. So excited to see him here back in the bluegrass and see what he can do second off the layoff. He's actually was the favorite in the Kentucky Derby Future Pool 1, 2, and 3. He was one of the favorites in 4. I think he's the second choice here in Kentucky Future Pool 5, which is going to be this weekend. Does that come with any added pressure on your side, knowing that there's so many people that have kind of an invested interest now in Smile Happy and what he's going to do moving forward here?
No pressure for me. I'm not training the horse.
So it's all on Kenny then, huh?
It's all on Kenny and the jockeys, and Danny exercise him in the morning. Danny or Robbie Alvarado's has been on him in the morning for Kenny. So I'm just a spectator. So
not a bad spot to be in.
But it is. I mean, we're 9 to 5 on Saturday. We have run in a very few $1 million races over the years, and I'm 100% sure we've never been 9 to 5 morning line.
That's it's got to be both fun and frightening at the same time when you're walking in there in Keeneland on Saturday. Are you going with a big group? Do you have a bunch of people joining you for Lucky 7 Stables on Saturday, or is it just the family?
Well, just family, which is out of 36 in the family, 24 are going to make it Saturday.
I'm not surprised. The $1 million race brings them out, right?
Well, it's an hour down the road.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. So you guys drew the 9 and the 10 post. We kind of talked about that. Have you looked at the other horses in there? Do you have an expectation on where you'd like to be the 2 horses to be sitting? Obviously, you mentioned Rattle and Roll adding blinkers. You probably want to be a little more forwardly placed. Smile Happy's been that one big run horse. Should we expect the same thing from both of them on Saturday?
I don't know. I've looked at it a little bit. I don't know that there's a whole lot of speed. Except from the 1 and the 2 horse. I've got it.
Yeah, it looks like Command Performance will probably be forwardly placed. You got Fenwick in the 2-hole, and then all the way to the outside, Grantham has some speed as well. So you hopefully will have a little bit of horses more forwardly placed, setting it up for you guys running home.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 3 you mentioned, the 1, 2, and the 12. Have got a little bit more speed than we do. And I think Smile Happy can. And we actually, in the Risen Star, Kenny wanted Corey to have him closer to the pace because we were very concerned about Epicenter being out there by himself and just relaxing and galloping and having plenty of gas when he finished. And that's the way the race unfolded. He was making a little bit of ground up down the stretch, but he just got too easy of a lead.
Yeah.
And we were, 6, 7 lengths back, heading into the backstretch. So I think we'll talk to Kenny and Corey and Brian on Saturday, and I think I'd like to see them a little bit closer than they usually are. I think Smile Happy's got a quick enough turn of foot. Rattle and Roll, he's going to lumber out of the gate, and once he gets going, he's fine. It's just a question of how many strides is it going to take for him to get going. Smile Happy has a quicker turn of foot. I think he can be up there if Corey lets him and asks him to be up there a little closer.
And you mentioned Rattle and Roll. I think there was snow in the forecast on Saturday morning at one point. Now it's just rain in the morning. You mentioned Rattle and Roll would like the off track. How is Smile Happy done with off tracks and training? Is that something that you think he would take a step forward in, or is that something it's a more of a concern?
No, he trains fine in the slop in the mud in the morning. He's never raced on a muddy track, so you never know until they actually have to do it. But he's been fine in the morning. I think both of them, if you asked them to run down the Washington Expressway, they'd handle it fine.
Excellent. That's awesome. Now, obviously, you've got more than just these two horses in the stable. You mentioned another one that's running Saturday. Are we expecting big things in that allowance race?
I don't know. He's been off since November.
Okay.
He's 15-1 morning line. It's a good 8 other than. I think there's one horse in there that's actually won twice, but in for the tag of 80,000. But he trains well. He trains with he's breezed with Rattle and Roll. He's breezed with Smile Happy. Kenny's other good filly, Crazy Beautiful. Mm-hmm. He's breezed with her in the morning, and he can hold his own. I mean, he's had some good works with them and done fine. So, but that's we talk about going to yearlings. When Kenny and I bought him, both of us thought he was going to be a sprinter, and he is not a sprinter. He cannot go out there in 22 and 45.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not like these other two. He can't go a mile and a quarter. But mile and 16th, he can go 23, 47. And whether he's fit enough to hold on Saturday, we'll see.
And that's the fourth race on Saturday over at Keeneland. Is there anyone else in your stable that we should stable up that you're looking forward to either seeing debut as a 2-year-old or that's training well that we should look out for next time they hit the track?
Well, I've got 2 horses with Ian. We've got 2 horses with Ian Wilkes, a 5-year-old colt by the name of Street Ready. He made his. He's had off most of the winter. He came and here a few weeks ago, ran an allowance race down at Gulfstream. And I think he was 5th. That race came up very, very tough. But he got a 97 speed rating. And he's been off for 4 or 5 months. He was a couple years ago, he was 2nd in the Transylvania over at Keeneland. He's a turf horse. Mm-hmm. And I think he'll do well. He's running a lot of races and like turf races. I mean, you can get 7th, only lose by a length or 2.
Yeah, and the trip can mean so much in turf racing as well. I remember Street Ready pretty well. That name has popped up multiple times when handicapping, and it's one of those situations where if you're not able to hit the hole at the right time, or you just end up 4 wide instead of 2 wide, that can make all the difference in a turf race.
Yeah, I mean he's been real close to doing really well in some races, and he ends up 7th, length and a half back, and but he's run some. I think his highest speed rating's been like 107, and he's been consistently in the high 90s to up to 107, and but I'm expecting him to do well. I think Ian's going to look at another allowance race at Keeneland. I can't remember, excuse me, when that is. And then he's got another turf homebred of ours, a 3-year-old colt by the name of Twirling Blues. He's been out 4 times, I think. I think he's got 3 fourths and a third. His last time he got third down at Gulfstream.
Okay.
And he's running well. He just needs to understand and learn how turf racing is. He's another horse like Rattle and Roll. He's got one speed, but we think he can run all day.
Yep. So just looking for the longer races for him, and kind of mentally needs to figure it out a little bit more to be overly competitive there.
Right. And then we've got one other with Kenny, a horse by the name of Crafty Daddy, who has done well at different times over the years. And he's had the winter off. And hopefully Kenny will get him back and running sometime this summer.
Excellent. We'll have to keep a lookout for them. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, talking a little bit more about Smile and Happy and Rattle and Roll. Best of luck this weekend at Keeneland with all of your horses, obviously, especially the two there in the big race, and everything on with the Kentucky Derby as well.
All right. I appreciate it.
I'm Mike Somich for RacingDudes.com. Make sure you hit the like button or subscribe button. We'll have more of these interviews as we get closer and closer to the Derby. And again, thank you very much to Mike Mackin of Lucky 7 Stable. And let's hope he can get a winner this weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Racing Dudes Preview. Racing Dudes Preview. And there they go.